welcome to episode 5 of Heavenly Threads of Heritage. It's your host and guide on this continued journey, Jada Dixon, celebrating the incredible stories of Black Christian women. Tonight, we're honing in on a theme that resonates profoundly with me and many others: heritage, faith, and identity. Tonight's inspirational quote comes from Maya Angelou. Quote, "If you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be." End quote. This quote carries a profound message about the transformative power of embracing one's uniqueness. In just a few words, Angelou highlights the danger of conforming to societal norms and expectations at the expense of self-discovery and self-expression. The quote suggests that when individuals constantly strive to fit into a predetermined mold of what is considered normal, they limit their potential for greatness. It implies that greatness often lies in embracing one's quirks, differences, and individuality. It's a call to reject the notion that there's a one size fits all definition of normalcy and instead encourage us to explore the extraordinary facets of our own personalities. Angelou's wisdom reminds us that the path to self discovery and personal fulfillment involves stepping outside the boundaries of convention and daring to be different. By doing so, we open ourselves up to the infinite possibilities of growth, creativity, and self realization. In essence, it's an invitation to celebrate our uniqueness and discover the amazing potential that resides within each of us when we break free from the confines of normalcy. In tonight's spotlight, we explore the life and contributions of Lillian Granderson, also known as Milla Granson. She was a remarkable African American woman who made significant contributions to Black history. She was born into slavery in Kentucky in the early 19th century, but later gained her freedom. Lillian Granderson's most notable contribution was her dedication to educating enslaved and free Black children during a time when education for Black people was largely prohibited. She conducted her clandestine educational activities in secret schools, often in hidden locations like barns or cabins, as teaching enslaved individuals to read and write was illegal in many southern states. Her commitment to education extended to teaching not only basic literacy, but also values and morality, and the importance of knowledge. Her efforts helped empower generations of Black individuals with the tools to navigate a challenging and oppressive world. I hope you enjoyed the inspirational quote and the Black Christian woman spotlight for tonight, as we are going to continue to weave that thread through this episode as we introduce our guest for tonight. Our guest for tonight will guide us through a captivating exploration of heritage, faith, and identity. She is Vanessa Woodard-Byers. She is not only an incredible storyteller, but also she understands the threads of our heritage with our faith journey and how it shapes our unique identities. Vanessa Woodard-Byers is a celebrated blogger, speaker, and community advocate for preserving the stories that make us who we are. Her deep understanding of the interplay between heritage, faith, and identity has touched the lives of many, and we are so honored to have her with us today. Coming up next after this break, Vanessa Woodard-Byers. Welcome back. We are here today with a very special guest, a guest that I have known for quite some time and who has affectionately named our kids Wildcats. No, Rattler Cats.
That's right.
Rattler
Say
Cats. And that's a whole story in and of itself. But I have here today with me Miss Vanessa Woodard-Byers. She is a retired school district administrator with extensive experience in auditing, accounting, and budget management. She is a second generation graduate of the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, affectionately known as FAMU, Three Strikes, and a product of its School of Business and Industry. She's a member of several organizations, including the Links Incorporated, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, FAMU, National Alumni Association, the NAACP, and League of Women Voters, among other organizations. Welcome, Miss Vanessa.
thank you so much, Miss Jada. I'm so happy to be here. I really am. I'm so proud of you
Well,
and
thank
what
you.
you're doing. And so I'm going to try not to embarrass you. And
And it's so funny, and I'm going to share this really quickly. When I asked her to be on the podcast, I had exposed myself and telling her that she was my unofficial mentor. And I say that because of the organizations of the Alumni Association. I am, in fact, a proud Rattler alum. And so when I moved into the area by way of another Rattler, I had a chance to sit under her presidency for that greater chapter in her area. And so I just sat and watched. I watched and I sat.
yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And you were very quiet.
Yes.
Let me just take over her
Okay.
show for a moment. Okay. So she was so quiet, but she's one of these people that I just call a quiet storm, a quiet riot, however you want to put it. And I saw things in her, uh, and now I'm seeing the result. It's just so I feel like she's my child, honestly.
I'll
And
take
so
it. I'll receive it.
I'm seeing the results, and I'm so very happy. And as I explained, this is my year of kind of saying yes to things because I
Mm-hmm.
typically say no. As you can tell, I talk a lot. I probably talk too much, but I I'm really a quiet person, and so I'm really
Mm,
much more behind the scenes, unless it's
yes.
some political issue or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit more out front. So I am strictly doing this because of our host. That is why I'm doing this.
Well, I am so happy and elated that you said yes. You've always had a place in my heart, even if we disconnected for some years and we reconnect and we say, hey, how are the babies and Benjamin 2.0 and things of that nature, we just fall right back into place. And one of the things that I watched you do and just be was your authentic self. However you got there, that was you. You was gonna say what you was gonna say, or you was not gonna say what you wasn't gonna say, you know, but you stand firm in that. And so that was something, as being that quiet person, I was like, I want to do that one day. I want to be able to stand up
in politics, in the community, and do the very things that you are doing. And so that is one of the driving forces for the Heavenly Threads of Heritage podcast. It's weaving those threads so that as the generations behind us come, they have someone or an experience or a podcast that will kind of connect the dots that pretty much go against the grain of what society sees on a regular basis, as in particular with Black Christian women, but that's inclusive of Black women as well. There's no exclusion, but I just wanted to make that known. That is the reason for this podcast. And so having you here is a blessing, not only for myself, but for those who are going to be listening. And so, as we dive in to our conversation, our episode this Wednesday is heritage, faith, and identity. And because we want to move in a conversation format, I want you to kick off the conversation. And what does that say to you when you hear heritage, faith, and identity?
Wow. Heritage, faith, and identity. That says a lot. I mean, really, just those three words, heritage, because it's something that's really important to me that I wish more people, more, let me be specific, more Black people were more in tune to and more concerned about, because we have a heritage.
Absolutely.
Of course, we have a heritage that we get from God, right? We get that, but just our heritage as people is so very, very important, and it should be respected. It should be respected. And when we pull in that along with our faith and our identity, because that gets to be a real a very interesting topic.
Mhm.
Uh, exactly what that means. And as I warned our host, my thoughts as a as a Black person, an African American, a woman, a Christian, can be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it is what it is. And it doesn't
Yes.
change, you know, uh, it doesn't change, who I am, but identity, it's just a lot just a lot to take in. And I don't know what happened in this world, but things just got so complicated.
Yes.
Things
Yes.
at one point it was during my childhood, it was you were Black or you were white, that was it. And then we've
Exactly.
got all of these different boxes, and now
Mm-hmm.
um the way that people identify themselves with the pronouns, and it's like, y'all, listen, I don't mean any disrespect, but
Yeah.
I don't
You
understand,
don't understand.
really
Yeah.
don't understand. So things got got very complicated as we have moved along, but identity is important. And I just believe that our identity, especially as Christians and as
Mm-hmm.
Christian women,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I'm not one of the, again, this is me oversharing, but I'm not one of the, Bible thumping, I know all of the scriptures, I can,
Exactly.
like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not me. That's not me. But I am a child of God, and I know where my blessings come from. And girl,
Mm-hmm.
He has shown me in so many ways. He has
Mm-hmm.
carried me in so many ways. But I'm saying that to say, no matter what, we have to we have to understand. And I've dealt with a lot of different people, and only through talking with people is that we really do need to love each other. Don't know
Absolutely.
how people get to wherever they get in life, but they
Mm-hmm.
do. But we still need to love, we need to love one another. And it's really hard, I think, if you approach things from a certain perspective, as
Mm-hmm.
if however you think and feel is correct. That's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Only one way, and that's it. And so all of that with the heritage, faith, identity, all of that works together, um, And I'm glad you're having this conversation, and you have this show, because we do need to talk about it more. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it, but
I
yeah,
like
let's
how
talk about all of that.
I like
Let's talk
how
about
you took us through the different words individually and then tied it into collectively. And I agree. In 2024, it's hard out here.
ooh, that's
Being, trying to figure out what to say, not to say, how to say it, when to say it. If this you say it this way, you say it that way. You have what they call cancer culture and all of
yes,
these different things. But in
yes,
everything that we should do, it should be rooted in love. It should be rooted in trying to gain understanding. We may not agree, we may not go along the same path, but at least we could say, okay, I've heard you. These are your reasonings. I can respect you. We can coexist in the same space. And
big
so we as Christians, and I use that loosely and as wide and broad as possible, do have a tendency to jump the gun and go into judgment and condemnation and say, well, she was this, just a day ago, or, he or whatever. And then we don't even give the conversation, the connection a chance. And each person's experience is different. Each person's ideology is different. And if we're not able to recognize those things, it's going to be hard for us to coexist because we're always in that state of, well, I'm better than you. So then, therefore, what I say, how I say it is the correct way. And sometimes people just want to be heard. They're not trying
true,
to change your mindset, they just want to be
true,
seen.
true,
And so
true.
when we think about heritage, I love the fact that you said it needs to be respected. Hello.
Hmm.
Point blank and period. It needs to be, because what happens is it becomes watered down, not from us per se, but from the culture, those who um, adapt and take on and take away and take credit for. It becomes a thing of their own creation versus where it stemmed from, where it's originated from. And then when we do it, then it's a negative connotation.
Right.
And so that, coupled with when I was speaking to another guest, and she was telling me about her grandmother and how her grandmother pretty much embodied that heritage and that faith component in such a way that um, she was, I think, born around or coming out of slavery time period. And so that's
Mm.
when a lot of things were medicinal. You grew, you went through, different practices to heal and things of that nature. And that's part of our heritage. That's some of the things that we had brought over from Africa, as well as some things that we had cultivated here,
Mhm.
even though it wasn't a voluntary trip. That's some of the things that we developed here. So that became a part of our heritage. But at the root and the core of that, I believe, was based off of our faith. And then when we think about the faith component, some people will say that that is not our religion, that it was something that we adapted to because of slavery. But in reality, I'm coming to learn that Christianity was in Africa before it was in Europe. So it's all those different nuances that play a part in how we operate in our heritage, how our heritage operates with our faith. And then the last thing you touched upon, as far as the identity, like, how do you show up? How do you represent? How do you um, fight the narrative, or you go along with the narrative? Like, what is it that you're representing? And so I appreciate the connection that you made through all of that. And so when we think about, your generation, my generation, and the generation to come, how do we spark that interest in them to pick up that mantle?
I am a firm believer in being an example. I can show you a story better than I can tell you a story.
Absolutely.
And so I believe that we, if we really want, and there's no guarantee with any actions that we take, but if we really want the best for our community, our children, our family, for this world, we have to show that we are an example to be followed. Now, I'm
Yeah.
going to say, because we are of different generations, see, my generation was more of um, children should be seen and not heard. We did not have opinions. They might have been given to us. We did not have them, right? Uh,
Mhm.
but my and I am the older of two children in my family. So I say that to say that, and my brother, I have a younger brother, but I say that to say I was the one. I'm following the rules, whatever mom and daddy said to a point, to a point.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I saw my brother and the younger, members of the family. It was just a little different for them, a little bit more, freedom to
Mhm.
do certain things. But times were changing. I get that now. And my parents did expose us to certain things that all children were not exposed to. And culture, music, art, those kinds of things. Even in that small town that we were in, because I was born in the panhandle of Florida, which I call the real Florida, but that's another story. Not like South Florida and Miami where I am
Oh
now,
yeah, it's
different
different.
place.
Mhm.
Um, but it was a different time, a different environment. And so, and I don't know why this popped into my head, Jada, but I just was thinking about what you talked about, the term Christian and how widely it is. Girl, I remember coming up, okay, you didn't wear red if you were a decent,
Mm.
you didn't wear
Mhm.
red, you
Mhm.
didn't wear, you didn't wear makeup, mm-mm,
Mhm.
you know, couldn't have your ears pierced. It was all of these things that Christianity was about, things that you couldn't do. I was like, well, that's no fun.
Exactly.
So I'm saying all of that to say we have to be this example to others that Christianity is not all about a lot of things that you can't do.
Absolutely.
Christianity is about love.
Mhm.
It is, in spite of things that we may be faced with, because let me tell you, this world is something else. It's a challenge, but it's about, standing, like these kids say, standing on business.
Yes.
We
Oh,
got
that's the
to
new
stand
one.
on,
I gotta
I'm standing on business. I try to keep,
listen. Listen.
don't let the gray hair fool you. I try to keep it. so, so all of this standing on business, we got to stand on Christianity. You
Yeah.
know, stand on faith. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a good thing when we
Mhm.
show that. Um, because I can lecture and I can nag and I can do all of those things, but it's a lot better when it's presented in a fun manner, a lighthearted, a
Yes.
light manner. So we just have to be. We have to be who we say we are. And one thing I don't like is I don't like Christians that pretend to be all of these things. I'm like, girl, you need to stop. Just mm-mm.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we're
I
not
I
perfect.
agree.
We are not. But don't do that. I don't care how big your hat is and what you're wearing.
Yeah.
No, we just need to be, standing on Christianity. That's what we need.
Listen, I'm gonna have to get
That's
a
what we
shirt.
need.
Standing
Okay,
for
girl,
Christianity.
okay. Put on the
That's
t-shirt.
the Woodard-Byers. She said what she said.
Okay, what I said. But anyway, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I just took us in a whole nother
No, but we,
place.
however you go. But because I like the idea of not just reading the word, not just going to church, and as you say, the with the big hats and the pomps and circumstances. So one of the things that I'm navigating through now as a mom, a wife who is married to a pastor, and lady this and lady that. And so it's interesting because I am not the traditional, what I would feel like is a traditional first lady. And that's no slight to those who do what they do. But God has called me to do different things. And I'm okay with that. And so it's sometimes it's a conversation like, mm-mm, I understand the title that is on me, but I'm not. Mm-mm. So, but I appreciate you acknowledging the need for the youth to see you as you do what you do. Because oftentimes, and I learned this just by, volunteering and stuff, like the kids are more prone to those who show interest in them, and that
Yeah.
what their actions, what they're doing matches up with their words. And if you're
Yeah.
saying one thing, but you're doing something totally different, then that
Ooh.
causes confusion. That causes a point of contention, of looking like, wait a minute, that's not what you said the other day. And so I feel like my generation is a hybrid where, um, we I'm in that time period where we still had landlines, but then by the time I went to fam, we just got them big brick cell phones that you had to charge up. We had dial up. So I feel like I'm in that in between space. And so when I think about, as you were talking about the order, I'm thinking about the personalities of my three. And Benjamin is that one that, to the T, he doesn't bother anybody. He gets what he needs to get done. And then he knows, okay, if I do that, then they won't bother me.
Mhm.
The other two, peas in the pod. That's all I'm gonna say. Peas in the
Oh
pod.
goodness. Oh
And
good.
so it's interesting to think about that. Really quickly, I want to shift because I think it's important to mention, and it goes along with heritage, faith, and identity. One of the things as a part of the Greater Miami chapter there, we would come together in support of your Kwanzaa ceremony. And so as we're talking about heritage and faith and identity, and I know that you continue with it even in 2023. Why is it important for you to continue doing that yearly?
Mm. Well, first of all, I sort of inherited it from my mother
Mm-hmm.
because she became the chair of the activity, the chair of putting it on. I have to go back to the beginning of us celebrating it.
Absolutely.
Uh, it was Dr. Young, Dr. Freddie Young.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was the president of our chapter at the time, but she she introduced Kwanzaa to us because we didn't really know prior to her. And then just the research and the investigating,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the principles of Kwanzaa, and there are 7 principles. It's based on 7 days. We can have that conversation at another time. Uh, but it was what I call it now is I call it a blueprint
Mm-hmm.
for us
Mm-hmm.
because it's really all about strengthening the family,
Mm-hmm.
building the community, supporting each other, all of the things that we really already know, but we're not doing them. For whatever reason, we're not doing them. And so we come together every year. We've done that. This last one was year number 33 for us.
Wow.
But Kwanzaa itself has been around since 1966. I think 66. I think 66. I don't think it's 69. But anyway, so Kwanzaa itself has been around. And I'm glad you're bringing that up. And I'm going to try not to be too long-winded about it. And you can cut me if I go too far. But it starts December 26th which is the day after what we know as Christmas, right? Uh, it was started, again, as I already indicated, and people try to position it as the Black Christmas or somehow against Christmas, and it really is not. It is not. And I try to tell people sometimes you got to think about the greater society. If they don't want you to do something, you need to look into it.
Exactly.
Like maybe I need to be doing this. Just the way people don't want us to vote, but I don't want to get off track. And so just the different principles that that Kwanzaa is all about. The first one, unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. We begin unity, we end in faith. And so people try to make it be anti-religious. It is not. It is really supposed to be non-religious because it is an opportunity for people of various faiths to come together to celebrate those principles. So there's so much positivity. However, I'm gonna keep it real. There's some negativity associated with the holiday because of the gentleman who is presented as the founder. However, there were several people involved in starting Kwanzaa, and it's something that began in LA after the riots in Watts. But anyway, so Kwanzaa is about really we're going to celebrate these principles for this week. It's not about spending a lot of money like Christmas has become. Ain't nothing in the Bible say nothing about all of this stuff that we know. That's why I say we know as Christmas. Ain't no tree, none of that. But anyway, so it is so, I just want people to, I put that man aside because there's a lady that is known as the mother of Kwanzaa who passed away a few years ago. I didn't learn about her until this year, okay? But like, I'm putting this over to the side. I'm not going to kill the message because of the messenger. And so it's like, we just do all of these things, people. We could have our businesses, we could have our schools, we could have our community, everything. Yes. I mean, that's what we could do. But people talk down on it. But I balanced my faith in God with my beliefs in Kwanzaa because I believe they go together. And so I really wish we could get back to that. Just like, you know, I'm into the whole Afrocentricity thing too, because that is where we actually came from. We came from Africa. Okay, we were brought over here, and dropped off in several different places. But it's like, don't make me have to try to pick and choose because we are all of that. All of that is our heritage. Exactly. Let's go back. Thank you, ma'am. All of that is a part of our heritage. We can see that ourselves. So we don't need anybody to tell us certain things. God has given us this, we can think. He's given us the spirit of discernment, all of that. Yes. And so I'm glad you brought that up because that's why we do Kwanzaa. My pastor is Dr. Jimmy Bryant. Okay, Antioch Missionary Baptist Church of Liberty City. Okay, let me give him a shout out.
Come on.
Let me tell you, that man, our church is a small church, but that man he weaves it all together. And that is why I believe that he is the best pastor in Miami-Dade County. And I don't just say that, I'm being very, very serious. He really is. So we don't have to pick and we are all of those things. That is, thank you very much. See, now that word heritage that you had me think about now is meaning even more to me as we have this conversation, because we are all of those things.
And it actually popped up in my head. You were talking, and I was like, Kwanzaa. And then that made me think about, and even our previous discussion, and then also experiencing it when we were in Miami. what it was and how it came about. And I even got to participate in the ceremony. And so it's eye opening. And I'm gonna be transparent. I have not done Kwanzaa since then, but it is something that I've always been interested in, but kind of steered away because I didn't know the context of how to do it. And so,
But we can fix that. I think that
amen.
would be nice, a nice project. I really would like to see more churches,
Oh, absolutely.
actually
Do it.
get involved with it. It's happening little by little,
Hmm.
but I'm just going to tell you, the more we are dealing with this climate of whitewashing and
That was gonna be my next question.
anti-blackness and all of these other things that we're dealing with, the harder it is to get these things across. And again, we are of a different we are of a different generation, but it's just so hard being Black sometimes.
Listen, the way my
Oh,
kids are set up, because we're homeschooling and they're also part of a Black
mm,
co-op. So I would dare say 90% Black kids. Then we have some whites and we have Hispanic and some other nationalities mixed in.
mm-hmm,
And so it gives them diversity, right? But then they are loved on for being Black. And they have the mothers cultivating their Blackness. And then at home, we talk about their Blackness and what that means in today's society and how society looks at them in their Blackness, right? And so they
mm.
always joke, like, if it's something about Black people, mama gonna know. Mama gonna tell you something. And I
Listen,
and I'm like, yes, and I will, because I need you to understand. And it was something that I did not appreciate growing up because my parents were the same. My daddy and my mom used to have me do book reports, and I'm not talking about in the month of February. They brought me one
mm-hmm,
of those 101 Black people books that I had to pick and I had to write and I had to, and I went to predominantly white schools. So it wasn't a whole Black history program or play or anything like that. So when I got to FAM, I was shocked. I was like, it's all kind of Black folks. We don't all like, where you from? I'm from, I'm African American. And they were like, no, I'm Haitian, I'm Jamaican, I'm Cape Verdean, I'm Panamanian, all of these different textures and nuances of Blackness. I was
mm-hmm,
like, my people.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
then I don't know if it's still the same way, and I still want to go back to my question in regards to the whitewashing, but um in while I was at FAM, one of the things, it didn't matter what classes you were taking as a part of your undergraduate degree or graduate degree, depending on where you were, you could not graduate until you took African American history.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, but I loved it because it gave me something that I didn't have an opportunity to have um, in my hometown. And it's quite funny. I was talking to a gentleman who's also a fellow Rattler alum, and in our city, there's about 4% Black people in comparison to the broader scale. And so when you think about that, I really didn't have an outlet other than my parents or maybe some programs here and there to really
Mm,
learn about my heritage. And so as I'm getting older now, I'm making it a point to do that for the kids and make sure that they know they come from a long line of successful Black people in whatever field that they were in. But let me just take you back one, loop around the sun. Um, you mentioned whitewashing. I wanted to get your take on the commercialization of Juneteenth and Kwanzaa.
oh, girl.
Um,
Oh, girl. I'm
Because
sorry.
look, it's in
Oh,
TJ Maxx, it's in the Dollar Tree, it's you know, it's a holiday. Like, I'm just trying to. What are your thoughts?
oh, and I'm glad you brought that up because also with Kwanzaa in its pure form, you were I mentioned not spending a lot of money, and you were making handmade gifts. A lot of, you were cooking for the feast, you made the food, blah, 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 and you were doing handmade gifts, and children were given educational toys, right? So kids got out like a band, and I'm getting Christmas toys and I'm getting Kwanzaa. Okay. But girl, it disturbs my spirit to see what has happened with the commercialization of Kwanzaa. And it disturbs my spirit to know the truth about Juneteenth. Because I got that from watching Benjamin's show.
Oh yeah,
And
Brother
Dr.
Carl Mack.
Carl Mack. So it disturbs me that we went through this big rigmarole to get this holiday. That's not even the right day, y'all.
Exactly. It's
not the right day.
They ain't even care to change it. It's in December.
It's not the right day. So my spirit is vexed. It really is. I'm going to be honest with you. Because I believe in telling the truth, whatever that truth may be.
Exactly.
We should tell the truth.
Yeah.
A friend of mine said to me, one of our sorority sisters too, said to me, you're going to really have to understand that there's going to have to be some commercialization of Kwanzaa, because she knew it bothered me. Some commercialization for Kwanzaa to get the message to all the people. That's just it. He was like, you're not going to really have it both ways, because all of this handmade stuff, that's not any fun, and people don't really have time for certain things. So if they have to go and buy some decorations from Amazon, you just got to let it go. And so I've let it go, because I bought some candles from from Amazon. I let it go. I had to balance. I let that part go. But we still need to know what the truth is. Absolutely. And we definitely need to know the truth about our history. Like, no, December the 6th, that's what we need to be focused on. Right. Do we need to recognize all of those other days in between? Yes, we do. Absolutely. But it needs to be what it really is. And I'm going to tell you this. As long as I live each year, and I thank God for each day, really, I recognize that we have been fed a lot of lies.
Hello. Yeah.
Okay. We have been fed a lot of lies, and there are a lot of things that we just were never told. And so I say that to say, I know we have given a lot of credence to just I don't know what the word is. It's not even really whitewashing, just whatever it is that Ron DeSantis continues to try to spew to erase our history, change it. It's just so despicable. The more I am on social media, because let me tell you, there's a lot of foolishness out there on social media. There really is. But girl, I have never learned so much Black history as I have from TikTok. Okay, TikTok. I was like, what? Who knew about all of those Black towns that were underwater? I didn't know that. I didn't. TikTok.
Listen, I'm right there with you, and that's why I'm pushing and focusing on our people. And it's because if we don't know it, then we'll fall for anything.
Exactly.
If we don't know it, we can't teach the next generation and teach them what to look out for, the trickery of it all. And so I'm with you as far as, like, I know I want to do it the way that they did it back in the day, right? But I understand people may not have that time and that effort to do it. And so just know I'm gonna ask you this question on another time because that's because you said DeSantis, and I wanted to get your thought about that diversity thing. But I'm not gonna talk about it right now
Mhm.
because that's a whole nother conversation.
Throw that away. Okay.
Because you triggered me with that word.
Yeah.
But I think it is beneficial to know our heritage. And so I know, you have some Gullah Geechee descent in your
Yes.
family. And that's one of the things, and I still gotta connect the dots for you. But I've been helping and learning from a Northeast representative of the Gullah Geechee Nation, which is along, what's that, the seacoast,
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're really instrumental of making us a nation, maybe not in the context of our Native American brothers and sisters, but they're pushing for us to be recognized as a people. And in
Okay.
doing that, they are doing a lot of the traditions from the basket weaving to the fishing. So I'm learning now that I'm back home, like that's what we did. We lived off the land. We stayed close to marshes and oceans, and
Yes.
we fed our families based off of that. And that then also showed our identity as far as how we operated. We were more of a community um, in certain time periods. And so now it's for me, if nobody else, for my kids and then anyone else that I may come in contact with, I try to drop those little nuggets to say,
Mm-hmm.
no, we've been doing this. This is what we've done. Um, and it just popped up in my head, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. At one point in time when we were enslaved and right out of slavery, we got the scraps, right? And so that was the chitlins and the hog maws, the fat back, the pig foot, pig ear, pig everything. And so, some of us, I included, still eat some of it. And but now it's like it's a delicacy now. And so you're gonna pay $30, $40 for a bucket of chitlins. Now, if you clean them right, you're gonna need more than them just one. You're gonna need three or four. So you
Mm.
imagine now that it's, I won't say mainstream, but it's something that we had to do to survive. Now it's becoming mainstream or it's commercialized to be acceptable now. And so some of those traditions we're losing or they're not as effective as they once were.
Well, we are not putting things, in their proper perspective and
Okay.
recognizing what we really have um, as a people. But other people do. They come into our communities and they buy up, our buildings, our land, and
Mm-hmm.
they make things, for themselves. But I I want to say this before we end this conversation because this is something that popped into my mind. I don't really remember what I was reading that made me think of this. There's been so many things going on, but I want us as Black people, I don't care what flavor of Black we come in,
Mm-hmm.
okay? I want us to really, really believe that we are beautiful people.
Absolutely.
Really, really believe that we are intelligent people. And really, really believe and know that our history did not begin with the enslavement of our
Yes.
people, right? And
Yes.
why do I say that? Because again, different generation than yours, but I'm the generation that experienced uh the Black Power with the fist in the air,
Mm-hmm.
the afros, Angela Davis afros, dashikis, protests or whatever. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Were you really?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we really had changed our mindset, we've got to be about changing mindsets. If we really change our mindsets, what's here, we recognize that we don't have to move out of our communities to, I mean, you can go if you want to, but you don't have to move out of your community to go and live with some non-melanated people. You know, your children don't have to go to school with other non-melanated children. You don't have to do that in order to feel as though, you know, their ice is colder. You know, you don't have to do that. If you really believe you're beautiful wherever you are, right? And it goes back to actually incorporating those principles of Kwanzaa that I mentioned earlier in your lifestyle. I'm beautiful, I'm smart, we're all of that. So we're gonna build where we are in this particular neighborhood. That is where we're going to live. Where I know here in Miami and in other areas, you know, kind of urban areas, there was a Black community. There was segregation, so we couldn't go other places. So we had already had our various shops. We had doctors and lawyers and all of those other things until integration came along, or urban renewal, and you put the I-95 through, you know, Overtown and things like that. We already had all of that, you know, and that was before I even knew about Tulsa and what happened in Tulsa. You know, it's just, our children need to know, no, not just our children, but people need to know the history.
I hope you all enjoyed the discussion with our guest, Vanessa Woodard-Byers. She is a woman that I have come to love and enjoy and embrace in her authenticity. She said what she said, she meant what she said, and how she said it. And she has always been that way ever since I've known her. So I hope you really enjoyed that discussion. But as always, after the discussion, what do we have? Okay, I'm at like, I heard you saying it. Takeaways and our call to actions. As we reflect on the topic of heritage, faith, and identity, let's extract some key takeaways that resonate with our journeys centered around that theme. 1. Embrace your heritage. Reflect on the rich cultural heritage passed down through generations and acknowledge the significance of your roots in shaping your identity. 2. Strengthen your faith. Explore how faith serves as a guiding force in navigating life's challenges and finding meaning and purpose in your journey. 3. Celebrate diversity. Recognize the beauty and value of diversity within the Black community, embracing the richness of varied traditions, beliefs, and experiences. Number 4, own your identity. Affirm the importance of embracing your unique identity, recognizing it is a source of strength and empowerment. 5. Honor ancestral wisdom. Draw inspiration from the resilience and wisdom of ancestors, honoring their legacy by carrying forward their values and traditions. 6. Foster connections. Seek opportunities to connect with others who share similar heritage and faith backgrounds, fostering a sense of community and solidarity. Now that we have our takeaways, let's go into our call to action. I just have 2 for tonight. Educate. Take steps to educate yourself and others about the contributions of Black individuals to history, culture, and faith traditions, amplifying voices that have often been marginalized or overlooked. Act. Take action to support initiatives and organizations that promotes inclusion, diversity, equity, advocating for positive change within your community and beyond. As we continue to weave this tapestry together, share your story. We want to hear from you. Share your testimonies of faith and resilience. You could be featured in an upcoming episode inspiring others on their journey. Visit any one of our social media platforms to complete the form to submit your story. Connect with community. Join our community discussions and engage with others who, like you, are on a journey of faith. Your insights might be the inspiration someone else needs. Support the podcast. If you found inspiration in tonight's episode, consider supporting Heavenly Threads of Heritage. Your contribution helps us continue amplifying these powerful stories. As we close, remember that your story matters and your journey is a part of the rich tapestry weaving us together. Thank you for being a vital part of the Heavenly Threads of Heritage family. Until next time, may your faith be your guiding light, and may you find inspiration in the remarkable stories of these incredible women.